जस हिंदी देखने वाले सारे व्यूअर्स को मेरी तरफ से प्यार भरी नमस्कार। आपका स्वागत प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक में। मैं आपकी होस्ट आश्मिता। हमारी एक हमेशा इस प्रोग्राम में कोशिश रहती है कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस कम्युनिटी की सेवा कर रही हैं एट अ लेवल दैट इज़ नॉट जस्ट लोकल और नेशनल बट इंटरनेशनल, उनको हाईलाइट किया जाए। एंड देयर इज़ परहैप्स वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट, मैं कहूँगी जो सेवा हैगी, दैट इज़ इन हेल्पिंग चिल्ड्रन। जब भी कोई बच्चों की किसी भी नीड को फुलफिल करता है, they are not just doing a betterment for the community, but they are bettering the future. So it gives me great honor this evening to welcome our guest and talk about a very special organization. Of course, our guest is joining us in the studio. So please join me in welcoming our guest for this evening. What an honor, Dr. V.K. Raju. सबसे पहले, Dr. Raju, welcome to the program. Great to have you. Namaskar.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. I always say yesterday is a cancelled check, tomorrow is a promissory note, but today is the cash.
Today is the cash, yes. And cash is king.
Yes.
Dr. Raju, you have such an illustrious background, and surely if we were to go into the whole portfolio, that would be the entirety of the program. But I want folks to know, not only are you an ophthalmologist, but that is your passion, and you've translated that passion. You're a professor at West Virginia University, adjunct at Johns Hopkins. But more importantly, tonight we're talking about your seva, your community service, the work that you have been doing through the Eye Foundation of America. Dr. Raju, tell us about this amazing foundation.
Thank you. I became a medical doctor and I went to UK to do eye studies. We always used to do during that time with $8.
Oh my God.
You know, that's how Indian government used to give it, 69 when I went to London with $8. But India has given us stellar medical education, repeated stellar medical education almost for free. This is no exaggeration at all. I repeat it, I write about it. And then I finished my FRCS, Fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons. And then at that time, we all wanted to go back to, not just me, my colleagues and so many, almost 90% of us, we always wanted to go back to India. At that time, already that pool officer, they used to say, whoever graduated, had a higher education in other countries, foreign countries, when they come back, they used to offer pool officer job, 650, 700 rupees a month, which is okay. Which I did not even get a reply at that time because they're otherwise so busy. So I had an opportunity, I came here. But during that period in London, I went on a holiday to India. A farmer came to show his eyes, very close to my family. I come from South India, Rajahmundry, and we are farmers we are a little bit landlords and for generations. So he came and I did not have, like a fish out of water, I did not have any instruments. I said, that got stuck into my mind. Then I came to United States onto the faculty of West Virginia. They are looking for a corneal transplant surgeon in 77. So I came.
Wow.
And United States gives you incredible ideas when you are
land of opportunity.
Absolutely, ideas, opportunities. So I thought of doing eye camps in India because eye camps are already done in India by very limited people and hastily organized. But here, after in a faculty at the university and doing it, we arranged an eye camp. First one I did. It was a little difficult to do things, but I saw so many children with eye problems. I could not stand those days. See the children with eye problems. We are talking about almost 40 years now.
Wow.
But things have changed so much in India today, but still, lot of children still we are not able to reach because 65% of India lives in rural areas. Not the big cities. Most wonderful things are happening. We must reach them. Anyway, we started to do that. Rotary International came in strongly. The Rotary clubs locally in Andhra Pradesh came very strongly because of their support And a lot of other friends, doctors and non-doctors too, were very much interested in childhood blindness. As my mother used to say, whatever you do, you keep on doing more and more of that one.
Yes.
I kept on doing, and I don't look back. We started 2 institutes in Andhra Pradesh. We have new building we are doing so that people from other Asiatic countries or African countries can come, whether they can afford or not.
Right.
It is not the corporate style of thing, but that's we can do in India, because India, to me, one of the richest countries.
It certainly has the legacy, that ancient culture that
Yes.
sometimes gets overshadowed by modern, discussions and issues. But the richness is certainly there, and it lives in all of us. And no matter where Indians live, India lives in them. Dr. Raju, so this organization, the Eye Foundation of America, it focuses on child blindness. You were telling me a little bit before the show why it is so important to focus on children as opposed to the average population, for example, right? So tell us about this distinction, because children in particular are a high needs group when it comes to their vision problems. Why did you choose for this organization to focus on childhood blindness?
Thank you for asking me that question. In adults, a lot of people are not aware that the eye problems that adults get, children can get it too. For example, one of the most common problem is cataract. Cataract is an age-related thing. If we are close to 60, we all have gray hair and cataract. Children can be born with cataracts. When I say almost half the time people, really? Children get cataracts? Yeah, children can get cataract. These are called congenital, some birth defect. But the rest of them are all normal. Suppose you did not attend to them immediately. In the first few weeks, few months, depending upon the extent of that cataract. That means cataract is a clouding of the lens of the eye. It won't allow the light getting into the eye so that you can't see. The image doesn't go to the brain because of the light doesn't get into the eye. The brain cells get neglected. A lot of eye problems, if you don't recognize them, because of the accessibility, affordability, I call them those two, if they are not there for that children, later, 10 years later or 2 years later or 5 years later, if somebody does it, the effect of the procedure, surgery is very little. So we have to take care of them. If you do, you give them 75 years of productive life.
Absolutely.
Like that, the cornea is the front of the eye, like a crystal of a watch. Corneal transplantation is I wrote a lot of research. I did a lot of research and books, and papers. So in adults, if there is a corneal scarring, anytime you can do the corneal transplant, you get the vision back.
Okay.
In children, if the cornea is scarred, born with scarring, it swells. There is a disease called corneal swelling. When it swells, you can see child is going like this, and if we catch them and give them corneal transplants, you give them a 75 years of productive life. These are no exaggerated statements.
And who knows what great things that child can do with something we take so for granted, just vision, the ability to see.
Wonderful. One of the kids I did in 84 or 85, he was 1.5 years old. He came one of the camps, and we came back, we brought him here in Morgantown, of all the places in West Virginia. We did corneal transplants. This kid went on to finish in New Jersey. The parents now live in New Jersey. Went on to finish doctorate in pharmacy in Rutgers University. I just talked to him last night, and he's the greatest benefactor of the foundation. Because of his help,
Over 30 years ago.
Yeah, foundation
Almost 40
has
years
helped
ago.
more than 5 1,000 children around the world.
Wow. Those are some truly impressive numbers. Dr. Raju, there's so much that I want to dig in, not just about the foundation, its mission, but a little bit about the field of ophthalmology itself, because once again, when you speak about it, your passion truly shines. We have to stop for a quick break here. Viewers, आप कहीं ना जाइए. Dr. Raju के साथ conversation ऐसे ही जारी रहेगी break के उस पार. वेलकम बैक फ्रॉम द ब्रेक. आप देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक. आज हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में पहुंचे हैं डॉक्टर वीके राजू. डॉक्टर राजू, we're talking about your true passion, the Eye Foundation of America, which focuses on childhood blindness. Over 5,000 kids treated, decades of work, and the result is, like you were sharing with us prior to the break, the result is a child who at the age of 1-2 years old receives this magical cure and has their destiny changed, like the individual you were talking about, who is now a very highly educated, contributing member of society.
Exactly.
Almost 40 years later, because of the fact that he had the simple ability to see.
Access to the care.
Access to care.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. We're talking about care, and you were telling me a little bit before the program. I want to cover this because the layman doesn't maybe know this information,
Yes.
right? So there is a big difference between ophthalmology and an optometrist, the kind you may see in a mall or a random office on the street. So you are passionate about not just ophthalmology. That is your field of expertise. Tell us the distinction between the two.
Yeah. Optometrists do not go to medical school. There is a schools of optometry. They learn about the eyes and give glasses, and they're pretty good profession without any question. But as an ophthalmologist has gone to medical school, first finishes his medical school, then he specializes in ophthalmology. So there is a distinction. You should know the difference. Basically, that's all. But we are all there to serve the people.
Absolutely. But when we're talking about the kind of work that's being done, especially at the foundation, it's important to have these medical backgrounds, medical tenets under the belt to be able to provide proactive or preventative care.
Yes.
Is that not true?
Oh, absolutely. They are participate too, but when you have today, knowledge is so important and the background. So there is a difference between ophthalmologists, optometrists. People should know the difference, that's all, but they all do fine work, but they did not have the true medical school type of training, but they give excellent, glasses, examine the eyes, and give contact lenses and all that,
Dr. Raju, so let's talk a little bit about what all of the work the Eye Foundation of America has done, like I said, over the decades that it has been serving the community, because, we're talking about a lot of different things. You do a lot of stuff back home in India.
Yes.
You do work here. You have some upcoming things that we'll share later in the program. So walk us through some of the biggest achievements and some highlights that the foundation can claim to its name.
Yeah, very good. I'm glad. First I went to India. Then I saw these little children with eye problems, which would have been, we are talking about quite a few years ago. Those things still happen in India. That's why, as we say here, with the today's India, how it is the top, very highly developed country, but we have developing country problems. That we can answer if we have a mindset to do it. I always ask, only one thing we need is a mindset. So when I saw those children, at that time in late 70s, early 80s, this instrument is coming, is called acutome. It's a fine, very technological advance. That's the first advance that happened during that time. You pass 2 small needles into this baby's eye under anesthesia. Within 15 minutes, you can cut that cataract, that cloudiness, remove it, and give the vision. Next day, the child will be smiling at you.
Oh my goodness.
I took that instrument. They always ask me, what are the stumbling blocks you had? I always want to forget the stumbling blocks and let's act proactive just to do it. I say this one, I kept with that instrument when I went to Mumbai airport. They kept me like a criminal for 6 hours because they had never seen any instrument like that. It is that size of instrument, looked very technological. We are talking about, 37, 38 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And finally, I convinced and they listened to me too, what I am doing and all that. Then I came back with a little rough experience, little bumpy. My patient, as father, he's an attorney. I said, look, Sam, it happened. Now we'll form a foundation. So then you have to show them, I'm working for the foundation, so we formed West Virginia Eye Foundation. Then at that time, the vice president of West Virginia University, who is my patient too, he's very well known in African libraries.
Wow.
He was an advisor to Ford. He's no more. Oh. Mr. Ford Foundation, he said, VK, you are doing a lot of things in other countries, not just West Virginia. And, not in few countries should say, change the name to West Virginia, instead of West Virginia Foundation, Eye Foundation America, we thought, we did it. And we're just continuing. For me, it's just with all these answers, just to do it. That's all I think about. Yeah.
That's a great mindset, right? We're talking about mindsets.
Yes.
And when you talk about the mindset that this organization carries forward through the work that it's imparting in these communities, whether it's here in the United States or back home in India, what kind of mindset do some of your other team members, other folks that are part of the organization have? What kind of mindset do the folks that support the organization have? Yeah.
Initially, I did not approach, for the first 16 years, we did not have anything West Virginia Foundation or America Eye Foundation, Foundation of America, but we never did a fundraising type. It all came from my practice. What's good, there's a procedure called LASIK, you must have heard, to get rid of the glasses. Each time I did, I'm the senior most surgeon in West Virginia.
Wow.
And the patient gives a check to the foundation. So when I do that one, about 40 children in Ghana, or could be another country, get glasses. Let me tell you here something else. There are 1 billion people, 1 billion people walking on the planet. They need glasses. Not all children, but people. They need glasses. Either they cannot afford the exam, or even if somebody did a free screening exam, but they could not pay for the glasses even today that exist. Those are the things we can, Rotary International, Lions Club, all the social organizations working with the governments. These all can be done today's technology and resources.
Absolutely.
This flower is the example, as you were asking me.
Please tell us about the flower.
There is no more polio on the planet, almost gone, except a few cases in Africa or Afghanistan, is because of Rotary International's initiative, political will, professional will, and the people's will all came together because of the Rotary International. Almost every club, there are 140 plus countries, Rotary clubs exist. They all said, yes, we'll prevent polio because only they need every year for a few years 2 drops in the mouth.
Wow.
The last countries in Western Europe to go is quite a few countries. Italy. It was happening in 1960s, I think, in Italy. They were doing that polio drops, and somebody said, oh, nobody came to our village. The group said, no, we were there last week, we gave the drops to those children.
Wow.
Then somebody, a good thinker, organizer said, okay, instead of arguing with all this, from now, whenever you give those drops to this little baby, we put a pink spot on the index finger.
Okay.
That's how the crocus became the flower for end of polio.
Wow, what a beautiful story. Not just about, the work that the Eye Foundation is doing, but once again, the mindset that drives this work, the mindset of other, large-scale civic organizations that are serving various communities or underserved communities in this way. It's the underserved that we have to focus on. The rest of us, we have ample resources. We can go to the best doctors and, you know, if our children have issues, we can get them treated. But it's the folks that come from rural and impoverished parts of the world, or even impoverished parts of the country
even in
here.
this country,
Absolutely.
in spite of, exactly, you're so right, yeah.
So this work is certainly international. Dr. Raju, you have some books you've written. You're an avid writer, so I want to talk about that. I have to stop for a quick commercial break here again. Viewers, don't worry. We're going to talk about some of Dr. Raju's written work after the break. Welcome back from the break, everyone. आप देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक एंड आज हमारी बात चल रही है डॉक्टर वीके राजू के साथ, ophthalmologist, professor at West Virginia University, the man behind the decades of work being done at the Eye Foundation of America. Dr. Raju, it was never about the name of the organization. It was always about serving those that no one else could help, that certainly couldn't help themselves.
Exactly.
And you've written extensively about some of this work, and your writings don't just focus on medicine, but some of the rich history that we as Indians carry from our ancestors into modern day, you know, especially when it comes to some of the holistic healing techniques that our ancestors avidly practiced before Western medicine kind of took over the world. One book in particular, Musings on Medicine, Myth and History, I want to bring up. This book is something, you know, that I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about.
Over these years, because of my interest in learning, my mentor in London used to say again, there are 3 solutions for every problem in this world. First is education, second is education, and third is education. So I want to get just educated myself, and I do read a lot of stuff, non-medical, and I want to write it too. Unless I write, I'm not satisfied. So over these years, I gave a lot of talks, almost every continent, about the history of medicine. I was invited talks, and I got a couple of prizes too. So when I talk to my patients, especially the elderly patients in my office in West Virginia, I just don't look at their eyes only. I always ask her some personal questions. And my approach, it will not take a long time for the physician to do that. Just to look at the organ. That is the principle of Ayurveda that was practiced in India before the construction of the pyramids.
Wow, thousands of years ago.
Approach the patient, look at the patient as a whole, and then organs, kidney, eye, mouth, and whatever. And when I used to say these things, when one of my patients, I used to say after cataract surgery, the cataract surgery was practiced in India 3,000 years ago. Of course, it's a very crude type of procedure, but they knew that it was a surgical procedure.
Wow.
I used to tell them, no, we never. And one other patient goes to the internet or somewhere, I don't know, they had internet, some of those things during that time in the library. I did not know anything about it. One lady once came, Raju, you must write a book. I never thought about writing a book at that time, but as I looked into my papers and all that, couple of editors helped me. My daughter Leela is helping me. She is a very good editor. She helped me. We wrote that book, and in the first page I put there the principles of health, not just the eye. Right. First, you have to be body should be health,
overall,
body and mind.
Right. Eat
right, exercise right, and don't take yourself too seriously. That's what Ayurvedic principle is. Rest of medications, herbs and tonics, or all kinds of very complicated stuff is there. Body types and all, they're all maybe some truths and some maybe myth. We don't know. I don't know. I can't say what I don't know, but you take it, whatever it is. If it works for you, it works. But eating is most important. In Ayurveda said, anything you do is in moderation. Eat right, exercise right, and don't take yourself too seriously, because we are still speck in that cosmos.
We are, absolutely. A tiny little speck in the vast system that exists around us. Dr. Raju, you mentioned moderation, right? And of course, we're talking about ophthalmology, about eye health, overall health as well,
Yes.
but with a focus on eye health. And just if I had to bring this conversation to the average person's day to day, especially younger, like the children amongst us, right? What would you say we need to do more in moderation that does negatively impact eye health? I mean, things like using the phone or, you know, anything of those modern kind of everyday things, right? I'm certainly guilty of screen time is way more than it needs to be between the computer, the TV, and the phone. You know, I'm probably staring at a screen the majority of my waking hours. So what do you recommend, especially for younger folks, right, as their eyes are perhaps maybe still developing in this regard?
Exactly. You and I, you know, you are young, but still your eyes have completely developed.
Right.
Even if you spend 20 hours on the TV, it's not going to hurt you. But if you do that work, you can get fatigue. So anybody who works with the computer for longer times, after 15, 20 minutes, just look at the distance rather than the screen. The muscles which bring these eyes together, they can relax, and it gives, you know, comfort to the eye. Or you can put a moisture drops too, but computers do not do damage to the eye. That's for sure. We all know it very well.
Okay.
But very small children, you know, we're talking about the cell phones, and we don't know the 100% answer, but we are finding that kind of evidence in various studies. People who kept on sitting, come on, close vision all the time, holding it too close.
I mean, that even is bad for your posture and your neck and
as well.
Bones.
So, mother and father in a moderation, but this is one of the greatest things that happened. You know, 25 years ago, what is what a $2 million technology is there in $6,000-7,000,
in the palm of your hands. I mean, it's the entirety of human knowledge in the palm of your hand, instant connectivity. So absolutely, you know, no need to discount, but everything in moderation.
Exactly. The children, don't let them get addicted to it. As a father and mother, we all can do it. And if it is done, but still there is a lot of research is going on. What is that? There are some drops they are trying to stop that one. We do not know the answer yet, but we don't know certain things. Anything you do too much, it's not good for you.
And I mean, of course, there will always be reactive, you know, answers like drops or medicine to treat any issues. But if we can prevent the issues simply by, like you said, parhez karne se, by practicing moderation, why not choose that path early on? Dr. Raju, you know, once again, we've covered so much, but I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. I know you have some particular words for our viewers, a call to action, especially regarding not just the work you're doing in the foundation, but in general, and I'd love to hear about some of that stuff. एक और छोटी सी ब्रेक के लिए हम यहाँ रुक रहे हैं. आप बिल्कुल कहीं ना जाइए, कन्वर्सेशन जारी रहेगी ब्रेक के उस पार. ब्रेक के बाद एक बार फिर आपके साथ स्वागत हुए हैं. आप देख रहे हैं प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेट टॉक, एंड आज हमारे साथ स्टूडियो में डॉक्टर वी.के. राजू पहुंचे हैं. Dr. Raju, what an insightful conversation, not just about medicine, about ophthalmology. Now we know the difference between that and an optometrist, but why this is something that is so necessary, especially in young children who have, pun intended, a bright future ahead of them. Yes. If we can gift them this access to care that they may not otherwise have. You know, we're talking a little bit about the international nature of your work and the mindset that goes beyond simply medicine, right? So you have some really exciting trips lined up in the near future that take you to certain parts of the world that are less traveled. Tell us about these trips.
Yeah, as I said, I was in Afghanistan. Afghanistan taught me a great deal, but India I go very frequently, 3, 4, even 5 times. I always learned something from these trips to going to other countries. And it would be wonderful, young doctors of Indian heritage. We are only 3 million Indians in this country, 1% of the population. We are 17, 18% of medical students of Indian heritage. I'm proud of it. They are interested, very good doctors. They could go just once in a year to other countries, especially with their heritage, go to India. They can learn a great deal and they can help. and they help themselves even more than helping others. There's always that I they get advice I give, but I always say, somebody said, there are two fools in this world, one give advice, the other one who doesn't take. I hope I belongs to the first one, first category. They will, in the hope that they don't belong to other category.
Right.
Mostly next month we are going to Kashmir and Ladakh to the Rotary International. There are clubs from almost 8-9 countries, England, United States, New Zealand, of course India. We're all going there, and we are doing a little eye clinic, but it's all preparation for the future. A park under Rotary International between India and Pakistan called Peace Park, and we are trying to grow 10,000 trees, plus my part will be the eye clinic, and I'm very excited to do this one. And a lot of my fellows whom I trained, foundation trained I can say, they're all so enthusiastic to do it in India and from other countries too. Absolutely. So that is the most exciting that's happening about the foundation. And our real motto of the foundation is World Without Childhood Blindness.
Wow.
Anybody contribute in any way to that one. And 35 years ago, I could have never said this word, world without childhood blindness. Today's technology, today's resources, it is just possible that easily, only with a right mindset.
Absolutely. I mean, what can't we accomplish if we have the right mindset, the right approach, and of course determination to get it done. Certainly the way you talk about it, the determination is not lacking in any way. Dr. Raju, you know, the work that you're doing, it has a big focus on empowering the next generation. You've done so with your own daughter. I'd love for you to briefly mention a little bit of the work you've done. I know she's helped you with some of the publications you've worked on. Tell us about this a little bit more.
Yeah, she's very much interested from the beginning, and before the COVID, she was going to India every year and twice a year to Ghana. We have a very strong program in Ghana. It just happened like that. I don't know how did it happen. We can't tell. But the northern Ghana, for almost like 2 million people, there are 2 or 3 ophthalmologists. The first 2 we trained them in India and United States, and they are doing a marvelous work. She goes there from the university here. She was previously in Pittsburgh, and now she's in New York University. I hope she will talk about what she wants to do and what then. You know, her name is Leela, and she is from New York. I hope she will come and meet you sometime.
I would love to have her on the show. Dr. Raju, you know, there's so many things we could still discuss. Like I said, I felt today we just scratched the surface of not just the hard science of ophthalmology, but the social science that is medicine and treating and bringing wellness in society. I'd love for you to close out the program, give a call to action or a closing message for our viewers, whether it's regarding the work that the foundation is doing and how they can get involved and support, or just the general need for folks to be more selfless and giving towards others.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time to be with us, and I'm very glad to be here today. If you could support the Eye Foundation of America, even more important, if you had a question about the eyes, children's eyes or adults' eyes, if I don't know, I will ask my colleagues. There are a lot of colleagues who are part of the Eye Foundation's work, will answer you through internet. The world has become so small today. We know whatever you answer, you can get the answer. At this time, I would like to close saying, but thank you for your time being with us. Mahatma Gandhi once said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. That's one I think about. My mother used to remind that one. And the other one is Nelson Mandela's quote. He said, the soul of a country is reflected how you treat your children. The future of any country. Thank you. I'm very glad that I'm here and I'm very glad you are all here today. Thank you.
It was a pleasure learning about your work and a little bit about your philosophy, your mindset. Dr. V.K. Raju, thank you so much for joining us. We do hope you'll come back and share more of the wonderful work that you're doing all across the world and the children that you're helping on a daily basis.
Thank you for being here, especially this day, Vaishakhi Day. I'm very glad I'm here today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. इसके साथ ही प्रोग्राम को यहाँ हम समाप्त करते हैं. If you have any questions, of course, the website for the Eye Foundation of America is on screen. And अगर आपके पास हमारे लिए कोई questions, comments या concern है, आप हमें भी लिख सकते हैं info@justbroadcasting.com, Aashmeeta@justbroadcasting.com. अब हमें दिए इजाज़त. नमस्कार.